Hey everybody, just adjusting my camera because I never quite get it right the first time. So just bear with me a second. I think that's pretty good. Let me get on my computer and pull up the video, fiddle with it a second. Yeah, I wish I couldn't see so much of the machine, the computery part. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. So, I'm gonna just kind of dink around here for a minute while hopefully I get some people on. I know it's kind of it's lunchtime here in the Midwest. And it's probably late morning out on the West Coast. It's a really weird time. Just come on. But someone named Rebecca thought I should do it, so I'm going to. And I really need to sew some short tops. So yeah, I was out of pink sharks and I do sell a few of those, so I thought it was probably, oh look, you can see my computer in the background. Fabulous. But I needed to, let's see if that might be a little better, needed to get some pink tops done. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's actually worse. Let's see if we can get it up just slightly. Problem is, I move my little gooseneck holder. Okay, I'm just gonna fiddle with it for a little bit. I move that every single time, or someone named Emily decides she needs to borrow it, and so it's in a completely different position. So it's never where I left it, of course. I guess that's what having teenage daughters does for you. Okay, so these are pink sharks, and I am going to make, I think I cut out 16 foundations. So, and it is this really, well, if you like baseball, it might appeal to you, but I inherited a lot of fabric from my aunt, and she did quilting for little kids, so she's had a ton of, I have a milk crate of just kid fabric in blue, just blue, and I don't quilt, so it doesn't really appeal to me, and I feel it's a little dated too. So anyway, so you'll never see it. Yeah, so anyway, let's get going. And if you are watching and want to say hello, I do like to chat with people. Let's see, and it takes me a minute here to kind of find my bearing of what I'm gonna do and get some scraps cut, which I started that, but let's also pull that down just a little bit. So what I did, behind me, I have this, oh, here, I'll pull it over. I have this, it's probably way too close to see, but I'm not readjusting my camera. So I have this clementine box that I went and stuffed full of different pink fabrics, and, oh no, you can't even see it. Oh well. So, anyway, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I am going to sew the tops of the sharks, and you can kind of see my crazy quilt method as I go. And then while I sew, we can just chat about whatever. That's one reason I like to get on here and do this, is because then I get to talk and find out what's going on in your lives and that sort of thing. Okay, so sorry, the first two pieces of fabric I put on any of the foundations, whether I'm doing the sharks or what else do I make? Well, I just did the little otter beavers, the otter tummies with the white crazy quilts, and the chicken wings are crazy quilt. So anyway, yeah, it takes me just a little bit longer when the first two pieces go on. And it's a lot of layering. Sometimes by the time you have it all said and done, there's just because of the way it's done and the overlap, there's maybe 4 layers. So let's see, I'm thinking of things to chat about while I sew. You guys have to talk to me. That's part of the rules, right? If I have to blather like an idiot, so do you guys. Besides, I'll talk about pretty much whatever. Oh, boy, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place right now. Here we go. Does that seem like a little fuzzy to you because it's so focused on the kind of focused on the Should I try moving it just one more time? I gotta get this figured out. I'm sure like there's this magic formula of where my camera needs to be. Maybe when I finally get my studio out in the garage, then I can set up things a little more permanently. I just have this sneaking suspicion that once I get out there and I'm all set up, the kids will go, "Oh, Mommy, this looks fun to just hang out with you out here." And then they'll drag all their stuff. And Alright, the scrap that I just picked is Cabbage Patch fabric. And it doesn't have a ton of pink on it, and I only have just this little bit. But see the little cabbage there? It's sort of funny. Anyway, this shark now has Cabbage Patch fabric on it. So it is still raining here in Iowa, and it has rained Okay, wait. I don't think it rained yesterday. But it has rained and rained and rained for days on end. And I think it should stop. And it's chilly too, which I'm not really complaining about that it's chilly because it feels nice. I've got a sweatshirt on, and although I do have the fan going, but I like the fresher air in the house, so that's why the fans are going. But it just seems so like cold, which probably means it's time to put on, get the jeans out and all of that stuff. I'm going to talk about the weather if you guys don't give me anything else to talk about. That is a true threat too, by the way. You know what? I'm kind of tired of that fabric. I think I'm going to come back to it later. That is one of the really kind of fun things about... Oh, that's yellow fabric. How'd that get in there? Oh, and a little quilt block that I will never ever use, but I will set it right there and do something with it. Kind of the really fun thing about this is I get to choose all the little scraps and pieces that I have had from other projects. And so yesterday I published a blog post about how our grandma taught us to quilt. And I know she didn't like give us lessons, but we watched her, and then she helped us with our own sewing by, giving some directions and that sort of thing. And one thing I talked about in my blog post was how much my sister and I liked to look at the quilts, and then we would find scraps from like dresses she had sewn, or I remember the first quilt I remember. There were pieces that, were already a good 10 years old by the time they went into the quilt. And then there were some that were just, a few years old. And one of those was our Dutch costumes that I always thought my mom made those Dutch costumes. Crap, where are my scissors? They're over on my cutting table. Just a minute, please. I'm pretty sure my mom made those costumes for us. But anyway, some of those scraps were in there, and it just was always fun to look at that. So I kind of like that about this too. It's like, oh yeah, I remember what I made with that fabric. Like this one that I have down right now, that actually was a Dutch costume that I made not too long ago. I still do that in my non-busier times. I've been making Dutch costumes for 16, 17 years. My goodness, wow, it's a long time. So needless to say, I have a lot of scraps from that. But I've done a little bit of my own sewing for myself or the girls when they were little, and I scraps from that. And I have done a little bit of quilting too. But my favorite kind of quilting, as you can see, is this crazy quilting technique where you take your scraps, and it doesn't really matter what shape they're in. You can kind of just sew them into whatever shape you want them to be. I'm going to adjust this one more time. It's driving me crazy that the phone has focused on that it focused on the computer little screen. There we go. That's nice. Okay. Hey, there's a goat. There is a goat trapped in the breeze. He's not trapped. Or she is not trapped. She can get out anytime she wants. But it's raining, and I have a feeling that's why they're in there. Because they don't, heaven forbid, stay in their pen. I mean, if you were a goat, would you want to stay in your pen? That's no fun. Really annoys me, actually. It's like, we built this for you. Stay in it. They don't listen. Oh, come on. I really should have gone through this fabric and got it all cut up and ready to go. Let's see, today is Friday. What are weekend plans here? Okay, that's perfect place for the camera, but I'm gonna bump it. Let's see, nobody has a game tonight. When there's a home game in town, then Anna and Josh both need to be there for the marching band. But that is it's an away game tonight, so we don't need to worry about that. And Emily talked about going to the drive-in tonight with her friends. It's so weird to have a kid that she's independent pretty much. I mean, she doesn't technically have her driver's license yet, but she's like, I'm gonna go do this with my friends tonight. Okay. I mean, I can't think of a good legitimate reason to tell her no. Yes, please stay home with your parents. I will be sewing all evening. Your dad will be probably watching a movie. So, please stay home with us. Hey, Rebecca. Yes, I started a little bit ago, but no big deal. I'm still on my first round of fabric here. Or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. And I threatened to talk about the weather if nobody gave me something to talk about, so. Oh, that's good. I didn't have it on the shark. Okay, there we go. So one of the things about how I sew sharks, get my little snips out, is it's called chain stitching, and you just don't generally cut a thread between each piece that you're doing. This is a really common way that people quilt too. They just sew all the blocks in one long continuous thread, chain, I don't know, without snipping anything. But then you have to go back and snip them. But it's still, I don't know, I feel like it saves thread somehow. Okay, I promise not to take 2.5 hours to sew these sharks. So the show must be tonight. Is that correct, Rebecca? Ah. All right, we're going to go up just a smidge. Sorry I keep adjusting. I know it's kind of makes you go a little bonkers, but well, at least it would make me go a little bonkers. So it's like a reception for the artist sort of thing. Is that what? Is your aunt in... I think you said it's at a college. Is she a professor there? Is she a student there? What's going on with that? So I mentioned this a little bit ago. It's the first time through. It always takes a little bit longer. The second, well, the times after that through the machine don't take as much, because you're only putting one piece of fabric on instead of the two in the first go. I keep hearing thumps, and it is those goats that are in the breezeway. So this is only the first part of the sharks. So once I get the tops put together, then they all get cut right up the middle. So they get cut from the fin up to the nose of the shark, the snout of the shark. They get split in half, and then I mix them all up. And that helps create the pattern of, you know, sort of looks willy-nilly. Let's see, is that a big enough scrap? Kind of. It'll do. Hey, Jean Ann. Okay, so your uncle's a professor. Oh, okay, cool. Got it. Now I know why you were going to this show. Well, I knew why you were going, but how it all fits in. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you split them in half, and then when I sew those two halves back together, that's where I put the little dorsal fin. Is that called a dorsal fin, the top one? Oh, I think I started to say this a minute ago, that I always feel like when I'm making stuff with my crazy quilt that I'm really like able to not throw, like I'm not wasting anything. Like, I'm not throwing much in the garbage. A few little tiny pieces go, but for the most part, I save just about every scrap that I have. It's too long, which I knew. So even though I'm cutting off little bits and pieces as I go, it'll get sewn on another shark where it fits. Like the one I just cut off, I'm going to put on right there, and then I'm going to overlap 2 pieces of fabric. I always say I feel like I'm making a puzzle as I go along. Just, it's like I have this huge box of puzzle pieces that there's no picture to follow. I just have to figure it out. Sort of. I don't know. Is that stretching it a bit? That might be stretching it a bit. I also make sure that the pieces go past the edge. Or where needed, not always, but where needed, because I will go back. The next thing I'll do after I'm sewn the top part together is I will go back and I will iron everything really nice and flat, and then after that, then I go back and I trim all of, so it matches back up to that original foundation. And then after that, that's when I split them down the middle. So even though it looks like nothing really matches right now, like color-wise, I mean, it's all pink, but different shades and patterns, and it'll actually, I don't know, it just sort of comes together when I'm done. Because I've got sort of a dark, like maybe a mauve color, and then I've got some brighter pinks, and I don't know, it'll just all blend. Alright, I also need an idea for supper. Like, I set out a bag of rice. Like, that's what I'm starting from. So what do I do with rice for supper? I don't really feel like stir fry. And that's all I can come up with. And I could do stir fry. I would have to, not have to, but I would feel like I would want to do like chicken stir fry, which means I would have to go to the store and get some chicken. Okay, that's kind of funny, Rebecca. Sorry for laughing, but yeah. Don't rush during your shower. Although one time, speaking of rushing through your shower with little ones around, one time Emily was, well, it was the summer she was wearing her Cinderella dress every single day, and I am not kidding. Got washed a few times, but that thing was filthy. She wore it every single day. Like, she didn't even bother wearing real clothes that summer. I suppose maybe we went to church or something. But, hello, Mr. Rooster. Anyway, so she was big enough to open the back door, but I don't know. So definitely walking. So I'm thinking she was maybe 3 that summer, maybe 4. So anyway, I don't know where the other 2 were at that point because they were definitely around. Well, maybe I was pregnant with Josh. I think I might have been pregnant with Josh if she was 3. She was 5 when I was pregnant with Jacob. So yeah, probably. And anyway, she got out the back door and wandered over to the neighbor's house while I was in the shower. And I think I was probably getting dressed, and there was a knock on the door. There's my neighbor with my daughter. Did you know Emily got out? It's like, oh no. So, yeah, rushing in the shower when they're that little, you just, you never know what mischief they might get up to. I keep forgetting to use my little clip keys. Since I bought them, I think I should use them. I wonder what was going on. Why did that rooster decide to crow like that? Oops. Alright, see, I missed a spot up there, so I'm going to have to go back with a little scrap of something and fix it. Which is fine. Not a big deal. Goodness. Seriously, makes you wonder what's going on out there. Why are you crowing so loudly? You're right outside my window, too. So I shared some pictures on my personal page of the roosters and the hens yesterday. They were just so, they must have had just enough sunlight that they just were shimmery. And they were just so pretty. The roosters have green iridescent feathers, and the hens are a nice brown, and it's got a lace pattern to it. I just love my chickens. And speaking of chickens, yesterday Anna found I think it's called a clutch, when you find like a nest of eggs somewhere. I think it's called a clutch, of brown eggs They were kind of a light brown color. Oops. That's why 2 pairs of scissors are out by the wood pile because, hey, BJ, we found this little nest of eggs. And the problem with these, they are not the color that our current chickens who are laying are laying. Does that make sense? They are currently laying that nice green color, and crying out loud, these were a lightish brown, so they were being laid by a chicken we do not have anymore, and probably haven't had in a while. Anna and I we couldn't really remember. Boy, I think you're talking about something. Go eat some bugs. Come on, that's why you're out there. Trying to decide how long ago we had, since we've had a chicken that lays that color of egg. I know my story is getting kind of drawn out here, but, yeah, so I did the float test on them, and I threw away the ones that, were floating, and then I cracked into one that wasn't a floater, and I'm like, this makes me nervous. So I did chuck the whole lot, but I bet there were a good 12.5 eggs that I had to throw away yesterday, because I'm like, I don't think I want to risk it. Just, yeah. So that's how you know if an egg is good or not, is the ones that float or stand on end are eggs that are not good and you should not consume them. And then the ones that sink to the bottom of your water are supposed to still be good. Yeah, that was a lot of eggs. I bet at least 12.5, if not more. I didn't really count them, but it was kind of sad that I had to throw all of those eggs away, but do you like my background music? I feel like I always have a farm story for you guys, even though we don't really live on a farm. And the goats got in the house again yesterday. My dad came over to borrow a couple tables for a garage sale that they're having tomorrow, and we left the sliding glass door open, and while I was talking to him outside, the goats of course were milling around, and I didn't think anything of it, but the goats weren't there anymore. Well, we went back in the house, and of course they were in the house. Just like, there's no, any territory is the goat's territory. Why would the house be any different? Ah. Wow. They are right there. Okay, I'm gonna cut up some fabric here. This is a shirt sleeve. From a man's plaid shirt. I know I'll be older than all the... Yes, you will, Rebecca. Is it a student show also, or is it just like professors and faculty? See, it's kind of early in the year for a student show. Whenever we did our shows at school, they were like towards the end of the second semester. I don't think we ever had... Well, I kind of remember one maybe around the holidays, like before Christmas break, maybe. But that one might have been just like it wasn't like a senior show or anything. So I know I did at least 2 different shows during college. Well, actually, if I think about it, I probably did 3, because we had one at the junior college I went to also. Oh, it's just your aunt's show. So what kinds of art does she do? I did a show that was photography. I did at Indian Hills, which was the junior college I went to. I did ceramics, so like pottery. Ooh, quilts. So I want to see pictures of those. Well, I probably want to see pictures anyway, but that would be really cool. So are they like art quilts? That's going to be really cool. I did photography, I did painting, but I'm not a painter. And when I show you guys sketches, you can see what sort of like a artist I am. I'm not a fine artist. I'm not like somebody who can like draw, like, trying to think of a good example, like the human figure. I mean, I could make it cutesy, but I can't like do a finely detailed drawing of a person. It's just not in my bag of tricks. But if you'd like me to make a cute little otter sketch, I could do that. I didn't know I could do that until I started this, but I could do that. Your uncle does paintings. You definitely have some artsy-fartsy people in your family, don't ya? That's really cool. I never really knew who I got my artsy-fartsy side from. My mom could sort of draw. But there's nobody in my family who just like stands out as like, they're a good artist. However, like the entrepreneurial side of things, we definitely have that in my family. It runs pretty deep, actually. I have an aunt and uncle who have owned an inn, little bed and breakfast. I have an aunt and uncle, another one, obviously, that had their own real estate, have their own real estate business. Another uncle who has done a wide variety of things that he's built with his hands, from fireplaces, like cast iron fireplaces, stoves. Those are stoves. And now he's doing like metal work and stone work and stuff. And then let's see, I have a cousin who really also enjoys sewing and does, I don't know, she used to do a few, like a little bit of selling with it. I think she'd like to do more. I'm not real sure. Another cousin who does a lot of quilting and does classes. I'm trying to think what else. Anyway, yeah, that's just one side of the family, my mom's side of the family. So definitely kind of a, I don't know if we're a creative bunch, but we're a kind of a self-driven bunch, maybe. You mean I have to get a real job? Please don't make me get a real job. I would hate that. I did hate it, actually. I worked for, like, please don't put me in an office. I worked as a cook in a local retirement home. I did that a little bit. Did I do that before I was married? Yes, I did. And then I did it a little bit. I quit for a few years, and then I went back to it when the kids were really little. It's not exactly working in an office. You still have a boss, obviously. But at the same time, I was, you know, it's a little more independent. And I have done my share of office jobs. Worked for a temp agency for a while, right out of college. Or not right out of college, but when I moved up to Des Moines, just to get out of the little town for a while. But, you know, it's just, when your heart's not in it, Rebecca, how many jobs have you had? Let's do a little comparison here. Like, actually, if I counted all the jobs I've had since I was 14, there's a lot. Like, not the minute I turned 14, but pretty soon after that, I had my first job. You were, oh, that's right, you were a vet tech. Hey, how much schooling did you have to do for vet tech? Because Joshua and I were talking about that briefly last night, because he's doing an ag class at school, and one of the things they're talking about is careers. So Yeah, I said, you know, you don't have to be a vet. You could be a vet tech. Joshua is really getting into the whole high school. There's all these things that you can do and join, and I'm really glad because he's not a kid who has made a lot of friends in his life. And okay, so vet assistance, which is my real degree, 8 months. Vet tech is 2 years, but look at yourself. Okay. But for him, I just sort of compared it to nursing, but I guess maybe not even long as nursing. Although I have no idea. That's what I said. A vet tech is like the vet's nurse. I wasn't sure how else to describe it for him. But I think he really wants a job that he gets to travel with. He's so funny. He's like, I'm gonna live in a van. I'm gonna have a trailer for my goats. Okay, buddy. It'll be interesting to see how that works out for him. Hey, Lori. How are you? I'm just doing a little bit of sewing this morning. Ooh, afternoon. I knew that. I knew it was afternoon. All right, come on, stay there. Do not feel like my brain is like working well today. Like, I don't really have anything interesting to talk about. Oh. Oh, this one's getting a little bit messy. Aha, okay. That's a good way to compare it. I didn't know, but I figured it had to have, had some sort of comparison. The sky is lightening up. Maybe it's going to stop raining. I'm just super duper tired of the rain around here. Ugh. Oops. Oh well. So the great thing about oops is that next time around I can go back and cover up my mistake. Which is really nice. Very, very nice. Oh, come on. Oh man, I gotta think of something to talk about. My mind is just not on this today. Okay, let's see. So I think around here tomorrow the plan is to continue to clean out the garage. Okay, maybe this is wishful thinking, but I'm hoping the plan is to continue to clean out the garage. Oh, excuse me. That would be ideal if that would happen. Caleb starting on the 17th. But it really needs to stop raining. Just cutting some more fabric before I do my next. Some lovely pink chevron. Come on. There we go. Yes, cleaning out the garage and hopefully actually getting rid of some stuff. I'm telling Andy that if we're cleaning it out, that doesn't mean it should just get put back on the other side of the garage. Like, let's really think about how much of this do we need? How much of this are we going to reuse at some point? We're both a little bit of people who hold on to things for sentimental reasons. And we've also let people store stuff in our garage, people who have never reclaimed their items. And so, yeah. It's definitely time to just get rid of some stuff. But it also has to not rain. So if we are going to burn anything, then that's just a super quick way of getting rid of it. You don't have to throw it in the landfill. Let's burn it. Especially if it's old, like, I don't know. There's some old desks out there that nobody is going to want. An old sewing machine cabinet that's really, they're just rickety, and it's just time to let it go. I feel like I'm using bigger scraps to get through this faster, but I discovered this when I did my gray ones, is that it doesn't matter actually too much if I use bigger scraps, because by the time you get everything when you get it cut apart to, you know, when I split them up the middle to put the dorsal fin in there, you know, all those big pieces get cut in half. And if I can get bigger pieces on, then it shouldn't take me as long to actually sew. That's what I'm hoping. And I definitely did not need 16 of these. I probably would have been fine with like 5 or 6. But that means if I get these done, then when I do need them, or want to add some to my inventory for shows, it's not going to take near as long to finish them. And this morning, I was working on a French Bulldog. It's a special order from an old high school friend for her niece and nephew for Christmas. So it was kind of fun. I didn't quite get finished with it before I got on here. Okay, I legitimately hate that fabric. So, debating whether I should use it. It's so ugly. I think I'm just going to throw it away. Shh, don't tell anybody. Maybe if I was doing, like, I don't know, something else. You think? Okay. And here I just said I throw very little away, which is true. So I will, the French Bulldogs are white and they have gray snouts. Snout, I think that is my word for the day. And little pink ears, well, inside of the pink ears. was almost ready to sew those together, so I will post some pictures of those maybe later today or tomorrow. And I also really need to go wash the dishes when I'm done with this. It'll wait. Those dishes aren't going to go anywhere in the meantime. Oh, hey, it's a ruffle. It's not gonna stay a ruffle though. I don't even know what it was a ruffle for. Probably a bag or something. Okay. But it still has a whole little threads in it from making it a ruffle. So I am probably 3/4 of the way done with these. The last parts don't take all that much time. Oh, come on. Little thread. Goodness. Should have pulled it all out before I started. There we go. And I'm going to cut it in half too. Just because I don't need that big of a piece. So now that I've done several of these lives, I'm just wondering, like, do people get scripts for these? Like, I'm thinking of, is it that Nancy lady who did the Quilting with Nancy? Is that maybe what it's called? On PBS. And she talked the entire time. Did she have cue cards? I mean, I know it was a professional setting, so, but, oh, what do you talk about the whole time? I know she talked a lot. I didn't watch a lot of her because she sort of drove me crazy, but, still, I mean, she talked about what she was doing and why and how, because I think they were instructional, right? But, which I realize I'm not really instructing you. Unless, you wanted to learn how to crazy quilt, and then this would probably, at least give you some ideas on how to do it, but, yeah. And the rooster stopped crowing. It's We don't even have lovely background music. Well, the ducks are going to quack, though, apparently. So I was out with the ducks yesterday. Yes, because it wasn't raining. Oh, that's what the dog's barking at. The neighbors are home. And I noticed that our Pekin ducks, which are those white ducks, you know, real typical looking duck, that the rowan ducks that we have a much gentler quack. The Pekins are just kind of this abrasive quack, 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 quack. And then the rowan duck was a much calmer quacking, if you will. I don't know, maybe they have less to talk about. I have also asked the kids to take videos of the ducks several times out there, and no one's taken me up on it, so I'm going to have to go do it myself at some point. So you can see the ducks swimming in their little ponds. We've got 2 mallards, two male mallards, I think a female mallard, and then we have 1 rowan, which I'm pretty sure is a male. And we probably are gonna Jacob wants to keep the mallards, which is fine as long as they don't fly off, because they could. Mallards are flyers. They could fly off. But we can also clip their flying feathers. I forget what those are called. Pin feathers, maybe. Or the feathers that get them aloft. To keep them here. Because I'm pretty sure Jacob's favorite is the mallards. And they are very, very pretty. The reason we actually even have ducks is, how many years ago did we have Lucky? Jacob was coming home, I think, it might have been coming home from church, and at that point we were going to one that we could walk to. It was really close. And he found a baby duckling that had been abandoned by its mom. And so, of course, he brought it home. And I did not know a thing about keeping ducks. So we kept it like we kept our chickens, which would be with some sawdust in a little box, thinking, it needed the sawdust for bedding and to be warm. And needless to say, it did not make it. But while we had Lucky, we sure had fun with Lucky. But he got left without enough water. I think we had him for a week or more, and we took Lucky everywhere with us. My parents have a pond in their backyard, and we took Lucky with us to swim in the pond, and my brother got some really cute pictures. Lucky took a bath with Jacob in our bathtub, and so there's some really cute cute pictures from that time. But that's the reason that we continue to have ducks, is that Jacob got pretty attached to Lucky, and he held Lucky while Lucky was dying, and it was very, very sad moment in little Jakey's life. And, you know, being the pushover mother that I am, he started asking for ducks a few years ago, and this is our second, maybe our third batch of ducks. Because, of course, the neighbor's dog decided they would be his playthings. Wait, it's only 2. Why are you crying? Because it's only 2, Rebecca. What did I miss? It's only 2 o'clock, maybe. Yeah, so that's why we actually even have ducks. But the pecans lay very nice eggs. Bigger than chickens. And I would say they taste the same. I notice no difference. I don't bake with them because they're so much bigger. Oh, you've got... You have the kids ready to go, and it's only 2 o'clock. What time do you need to go? And are you waiting for Bud to get home? Does he get to go with you? Wait, does that mean they didn't take naps? Oh no, if they didn't take naps, it's not good. Oh, I need to cut some more fabric here. I'm gonna go for a nice hot pink. So there's no rhyme or reason to the fabric I'm choosing. And it's not pinks that maybe you would normally put together. Leaving it for going with my mom. But, oh, that's right. Okay, now I'm trying to, I bet I've been on here for an hour and a half. I just keep sewing and chatting about nothing. And I dropped a piece of fabric. Wanted to get, which is why I'm creating all sorts of bumping with my chair. And Rebecca, don't feel like you just have to stay on here and watch, unless it's Levi is watching and it's giving him something to do. I could say hello. So hi Levi, in case you're watching me sew sharks and talking about our ducks. and this afternoon I have to go into town and get the kids and get Andy's new phone activated. So Andy has decided that he only wants to use flip phones. And that's fine. I mean, it's whatever. He mostly just does calling on his phone, that's cool. If he doesn't want to be technically in tune with the rest of the world, that's his problem, right? So anyway, flip phones are a little bit hard to come by in stores. They offer two, and he'd gotten one a while ago, and of course they tell you it's durable, but they're not, especially for someone like Andy. And it slid off. This is how I understood it. It somehow slid off where it was setting in his truck and slid right into his cup of coffee. And it worked a little bit, but not fabulous. And he got mad and he snapped it in half. So I put a little message out on the Facebook world. If anyone had flip phones, they would be willing to let Andy have. And we have collected people at work. He got two from guys at work. A friend of mine gave me two more that she and her husband had upgraded and no longer needed. And then yesterday my dad said that Kathy has one that we could have. So he has at least 5 flip phones, and I am going to just keep them, and I will have backup phones for him now. He has 5 phones. I just don't want him to ruin them intentionally. I don't think he would do that. But he's very, very hard on things. And it will be interesting to see how long he keeps the next one going, or if it slips into his coffee cup again. When he told me that, I was like, arr. And then Anna calls me from school today. And her phone screen is all broken. What is it called? Shattered. She shattered her phone today. So, I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. I guess if nothing else, she can have a flip phone. If it can't be repaired or whatever, which I kind of doubt it can be repaired. And why is it that places only seem to be interested in repairing the iPhone screens and not Android screens? Really frustrates me. You have these pieces of equipment that don't work because the screen is shattered. And they're hundreds of dollars, and then they can't be repaired. I think it's like one of those things like, how come we can't have cars with better fuel mileage? Well, because the car companies have decided that they would lose money if we had a car that was actually fuel efficient. So I think the same theory applies to phones. They know we like them, and we will continue to buy them. But it's a little frustrating. So my first real craft show is coming up next week, Friday and Saturday. And I'm thinking I want to do a live show for you guys before that. I should have a lot of new animals that they've been sewn. They just need to be stuffed and, finished up. So I want to get that done. I'm hoping this weekend, and then maybe Monday or Tuesday do a live sale. I know it's been a long time. In the new setup, I'm not crazy about where I'm going to have to do it, or I'm going to have to figure out a completely different way. I like standing there so you can see all of the animals behind me. I like that. Kind of gives you a little sneak peek or preview. But it might just not be possible until I get a real place to do that. And the more I think about my new setup in the garage, the more I feel like I'm not going to have enough space. So we'll see how that all plays out. Cats in the backyard too now. I kind of like when the goats are both back by the apple tree. I kind of like that I can see out there and everything. It's just kind of nice. I'm not sure I'm crazy about listening to the roosters, but that's okay. We have several stacks of wood in the backyard, and I think it's probably why the goats don't stay in their pen, is they're like, hey, it's a playground out here. Last night, Stella, the puppy, was let loose in the backyard, which is just a giant mistake right now. She just chases everything, and she's ripped the feathers off of the tail of one of the older chickens, which is just, she is learning, but she needs to learn to back off a little. She needs some impulse control. She's a herder. So, according to her, everything must be herded. Anyway, so the goats were out there with her last night, and they jumped on top of the LP tank to escape her. That's when Anna and I were digging out that clutch of eggs. Oh, come on. Sorry, I'm talking to my machine. That was kind of loud, sorry. There go the chickens. Alright, well, I think you guys get the idea, and maybe what I'll do is take some pictures of, when, you know, one piece is all done, and then when it's ironed and trimmed, and just, I'll put that in the comments later so you can kind of see what, but you, I mean, this is ridiculous, but you of course understand or can see how I've been sewing the tops of them. So it was really fun chatting with all of you who joined me, even if it was just for a few minutes, and we will talk to you later. Bye.